Welcome back to another episode of the A-10 Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Dauster. I am going to be joined today not only by GW head coach Chris Caputo, but I'm going to drop in here an interview that we had with Rhode Island head coach Archie Miller after the Rams knocked off Dayton on Wednesday night. We had him on the Field of 68 after dark. He jumped on. The plan was to try to have him jump on and surprise his brother Sean Miller after Sean went into UConn and got a win. It kind of worked the other way because Archie was ready, and then we had to bring Sean on. It was a whole mess. We had someone on the bus, and Sean Miller sitting there with a phone up to his ear trying to talk on a Zoom, and it was about what you get from the Field of 68. It was fun. It was reckless. We didn't really know what was going on, but it was a good time. So there's not much else to say. It was a wild week, a rough week if you were a Dayton fan, but it's the A-10 is turning out to be a roller coaster ride of a conference. GW currently in third place. We were able to catch up with head coach Chris Caputo. I'm going to drop this interview in now, and then our producer Mitchell is going to throw that interview with Archie Miller in at the end of this podcast. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're going to see you guys again next week. I think we're going to have a really fun, interesting guest that might be a little bit spicy next week. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. And now let me welcome back to the A-10 inside. Hold on, let me start that over. Sorry. 3, 2, 1. Now let me welcome back to the A-10 Insider Podcast, our first multi-time guest, our first returning guest, George Washington head coach Chris Caputo. Chris, what's going on, man? Congratulations on being the first recurring guest on the A-10 Insider Podcast. How important do you feel right now?
Do I get a bonus for that? Is that in my contract?
Yeah, it is. We actually discussed that with the A-10 and GW. So you got to take your staff out to dinner on this one. Maybe have them help you figure out how to use a Zoom.
Yeah, well, yeah, we haven't figured that out yet. No.
All right. So before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of this, I want to ask you, you're about halfway through your first season as a head coach. What has been different in terms of what you expected going in? Has there been anything surprising, anything that's maybe been easier than you thought? Like what's kind of been something that you didn't necessarily see when you first got the job?
Listen, I was very well prepared by Coach Larinaga. One of the things about working for him for as long as I did is, you really got to see a lot of what he would do on a daily basis, right? His preparation, where his mind was as the season, went on. And so I'm very fortunate that he was very inclusive with the staff on those things, So it's equally as hard as they say it is, but also not surprising for me. Like, I think it's pretty much what I would expect it. The one thing I always joke to people is your schedule, different responsibilities of a head coach, whether it be media or fundraising or different meetings and things like that maybe you're not quite as involved in as an assistant coach. And then the other one is, you're the one doing the practice plan. So like when practice is over and you're an assistant coach, hey, I'm just going to watch practice and, make some recruiting calls or whatever. That's changed to, hey, it's, everyone's kind of waiting around for you to figure out what you want to do for practice the next day. So those would be the differences.
All right. So you guys lost 5 of 6 in December. There was a 3-game losing streak when you went out to Hawaii. But for the first time since 2015, first time in 8 years, GW has won 5 of their first 7 games in the Atlantic 10 Conference. What changed? How did you get this thing turned around? How did you get you guys to start winning, start playing, whatever it was? Like, what changed during those months? I guess it would have been right around New Year's, right?
Yeah, we came back from Hawaii. I thought we played very well in the first game in Hawaii against Washington State. Very controversial ending. Last night, I was very glad that they checked the goaltending. Our Atlantic 10 officials are first class, doing a great job by the book. And so there was a late sort of goaltending call, and you blow the whistle there in the last 20 seconds to make sure you get it right. And we didn't do that in our Washington State game, up 2 with 20 seconds to go. And then, that leads to a loss. And I've been in enough of those tournaments when you have a devastating loss like that the first day. We play, I think we were up a couple points on Pepperdine at half, or maybe tied. We lose E.J. Clark for the season in that first half. And Pepperdine has a great second half. And then we play a very, very good Seattle team, an NCAA tournament level team in Seattle that 8:30 in the morning on Christmas Day. So in Hawaii. So we kind of regrouped coming back from that, starting league play at Loyola. And we made a couple adjustments schematically, but I thought our guys have been pretty good in terms of, how they have responded to winning and losing. They've been, we have a veteran group and we're pretty steady. And so we've been good there in terms of just being able to turn the page.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier how everyone's kind of looking to you as the head coach for the answers, right? You've been part of losing streaks before on staffs. Everybody is. It's part of the business. This is what happens when you're coaching, right? But this was the first time that it was you were the guy that was in charge of everything. You're the one that has to go answer questions from media. You have to talk to people like me and explain why this stuff is happening. When you get to that point now, like, is that more difficult? Is it something where you kind of, it's more pressure on you, right? It's different when you're one seat over on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I would say again, I kind of fall back on my training, 20 years of sitting there, with somebody who, just has a lot of experience, in dealing with different things, and being a head coach, at places where you're going to have, some losing streaks. There's some jobs where it's not often you have losing streaks. I mean, when you've been at some of the places that we've been, it's not quite as simple, right? And so, dealing with that, especially in our last couple of years at Miami, where we were the roster turnover and the things we were dealing with there, I got very prepared and understanding about, how to dig yourself out of a hole. And we wound up, digging ourselves out to the tune of going to the Elite Eight last year. So I feel like I got a lot of on the job training with that stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we are now about 10 minutes into this podcast and we have not talked about your backcourt yet. Veteran guards, Brendan Adams, James Bishop. I believe they are top 3 in the country in terms of being a scoring duo in college basketball right now. I mean, just talk to me about these kids, man.
Those guys are very, very fortunate to have them here. Both from Baltimore, Baltimore Catholic League, tough guys, love the game, love to work, never have a bad day, never have a bad practice. It's just a pleasure, they compete very hard. They're not perfect, but man, they are just all about the right stuff, serious minded. They've done a great job bringing Max Edwards along, to be honest. Max is probably, I think if the season was over today, he'd probably be the rookie of the year in the Atlantic 10 and certainly on the all rookie team. And on top of all the good that they do, they've mentored Max and given Max an opportunity to have a very good freshman year. And they've got good counterparts in the front court with Ricky Lindo and Hunter Dean, but those guys have shouldered a lot of weight in terms of their usage and defending the other team's best players. It's again, we're blessed to have them.
The saying that everyone loves to fall back on is like, you need guards to win in college basketball. It's a guards game,
Yes.
It's a point guards game. You have 2 fifth-year lead guards, right? I don't know if you want to qualify them as point guards or combo, whatever you want to call them, right? Like, what is it about having old players in a backcourt that is so important to a team and to a basketball coach?
Yeah, I think they've been hardened by their experiences. Both guys are transfers, from the high major level. They both have seen a lot, been through a lot. They've learned to deal with adversity. And I think when you're younger, you think that there'll be none of that adversity. And then, as we know, there's so much of it even within a game. And so they've been very, very steady. I think it comes with that experience is really the only way you can get it. And man, they've I'm very happy for 2 guys really having career years, and they deserve it because of how hard they work and the type of, sort of basketball character that they have.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Max Edwards earlier in the preseason when you and I talked. You kind of talked him up a little bit. You got a freshman coming in from the Big 12. You got a player that's going to end up being this good, and Scored 12 points in his first game, 18 points in his second game. The middle of the year kind of got bogged down a little bit, but his last 4 games, I did the math, Chris. It might be right, it might be wrong. I can't make promises. I'm not great when it comes to addition and subtraction, but he's averaging 16.6 boards and shooting 11 for 23 from 3. My sources are telling me that's pretty good. Is it safe to say he's kind of lived up to your I don't want to say height, but your expectation maybe for what he could have been?
Well, I think, for Max, it's been, one, the opportunity, right, that you get because of our roster. I shouldn't really get thrown in the fire as a freshman. 2, he's talented. 3, he's a really good guy. I think he's handled some of the ups and downs of a freshman year very well, for the most part. I think he's had good leadership from the older guys to help him through that. And, as I said, if I was treating him as a freshman, even though he was hurt last year at Kansas State, I think we'd have a pretty good freshman in the program. And, the numbers sort of bear out that's accurate.
Yep. So you guys are now 5-2 in the league. And if you look at the way that your schedule breaks down, you don't play another team that is currently in the top 4 until the season finale against VCU. Like you're set up to be able to kind of make a run at this thing. How do you avoid a team that gets complacent, right? How do you avoid a team that reads press clippings? How do you avoid having guys kind of like settle and say, look, we've done this. Now we're going to start winning games. You're going to be targeted now, right? You weren't targeted at the start of the season. You're going to be targeted now. People are going to say that team's above us in the standings. We got to go get them. How do you avoid, I don't know if settling is the right word there, but how do you keep your team motivated and fighting for it?
Yeah, I think, the first thing is obviously the Atlantic 10. I mean, everyone in this league can, you look at some of the scores last night. I mean, everybody can really compete and beat anybody. I mean, even for us in our 7 games that we've led at halftime of every one of those games, even our 2 losses, and yet the games have been close. And I said last night in a press conference, like, I want our program to not be a big game program. I want every game to be a big game. I don't think anybody on our roster should feel like we've really accomplished anything other than we've had a couple of good weeks here. And, we've got to remain like hungry, as we should be. I have a lot of guys who, again, haven't had the type of success in terms of winning in college that you would want. And so when they're getting a little taste of that, they should continue to want more of it, not like, let's read about how good we are. I mean, we're playing Fordham Saturday. They won 3 straight on the road, so they're having a hell of a year, and it will be a hell of a game, and they're doing a great job. So I don't think that's our mindset. I'll try to do my best to make sure it's not. Can't always promise that that'll be the case, but I don't think any there's no last we beat Dayton. People are saying, oh, maybe this is a letdown game, or against St. Joe's. I'm like, man, St. Joe's is really good. They've won 3 straight. Their backcourt's terrific. I don't see us like, oh, we're better than them, we better not play down to them. I don't see that at all.
It feels like that's also a team leadership thing, right? When you have 2 fifth-year guards in the backcourt that want something, that want the win, like that's when you hold people accountable. And it's not like you have a young team. You got a bunch of old dudes. I think half your roster might be older than you.
Not older than me. I'm getting old, but like maybe 15 years ago, that would have been the case. Yeah. No, I again, I think that those guys being hardened by the experience, their care factor is high. I think they're enjoying, the success that they're having. But I listen, I try to make it like we're sending. I think I used the term like a fever of every game is like we're not just we're going to be consistent in our preparation, but we'll also be consistent in messaging that like, hey, every game is really important.
Yep. That's what happens when you're competing for a title, right? You always hear this time of year, oh, they need a loss. Oh, a loss would be good for them. It's not the case when you're chasing a regular season title. Did you see this kind of a run coming? Like, did you see this team being able to, like, be honest with me? You were picked 12th in the preseason. I don't think that was necessarily not unsurprising. Did you see this kind of a year coming?
I thought we'd have a chance to be competitive because of our veteran guards. Our depth can be an issue at times, but the character of the other guys I thought gave us a chance. You know, we've got a very connected group. There's no agendas. There's no people that are all about themselves or looking into the stands, or, you know, parents interested more in their kids' success than the team's success. And I think in this day and age, if you have that with the requisite level of talent, you know, if you can be consistent, you can put together, you know, a very competitive roster. Now, again, I think the difference between who would be picked 12th and who would be picked 3rd or something, or 4th, is like it's not that much, you know.
Yep.
So we're in a good position now, but that could change 2 weeks from now.
All right. So last thing I got for you, because I know
Yeah.
you're doing this before you go prep for Fordham. You're playing them on the road. They've just won 3 straight on the road. That's going to be a tough game. You guys do not play at Duquesne this year. So does this mean that you are not going to order Doordash during a game and have it delivered to you on the bench?
Yeah, I saw what happened. I kind of saw it on Twitter, but what happened exactly?
It was a prank. Some guy that's like a YouTuber or a TikToker walked on the court pretending to be a Doordash guy delivering stuff during a game. There's a picture
at Duquesne.
At Duquesne, yeah, he's got the mic on. So it was a student that was. He didn't even get thrown out of the game. How about that? They sent him back to the student section.
Well, we did have a dog run on the court this season.
I forgot about that.
So
okay, can you explain to me what happened there?
Apparently there was a dog doing the halftime show, and I don't know, it got loose like in the middle of a possession. Ricky Lindo was so scared, it was unbelievable. I mean, I think if you replay that and study the film, you'll see someone like me who has had, because of my wife, who loves dogs. I've had many dogs throughout the years now, so very comfortable in that environment with dogs like barking and screaming at you and coming close to you. Whereas Ricky Lindo apparently has never had dogs and was like literally running into the stands.
That was an amazing moment. A-10 basketball where you get Doordash and dogs running on the court in the middle of the game. All right, last thing. Give me your top 3 favorite dog breeds.
Oh, geez. All right. So this is a whole. All right. So Shepherd mix, because that's one of my dogs that I had. Husky mix was another dog, and this is probably a conversation for a future podcast. But I have a Sapsali from Korea right now.
So we
imported this dog from Korea. It's a long story, but it's a good one.
So you tend to like the bigger dogs, then the bigger pups.
Sapsali's small, but the other ones are big. But again, this is my wife Julie. She's totally the chief executive dog procurement person. I mean, she's in charge of that.
So she's the head coach at GW. She's the head coach at Casa de Caputo. Is that what it is? That's what you're telling me?
Yeah, and I mean she works too, but she's been a dog lover of her whole life. And I didn't grow up with dogs, but it's like Samuel L. Jackson says in Pulp Fiction, "Hey, my girlfriend's a vegetarian." Pretty much makes me a vegetarian. It's the same thing, right? Yeah. My wife loves dogs. Pretty much makes me loving dogs.
I'm glad that's where that was going, because as soon as you started quoting Samuel L. Jackson, I was wondering if I might have to make this an explicit podcast. Listen, Chris, go study some film, man. Go get ready. I know you guys got Fordham on Saturday. Best of luck to you. Thanks for catching up.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Rob.
And now let me welcome on to the field of 68 After Dark, the most talented Miller brother, the best looking Miller brother, and the guy that got the biggest win of the night out of the Miller clan. Archie Miller, Rhode Island head coach, picked up a big win over your former school, Dayton, 75-70 tonight. I mean, big win, man. Congrats. How you feeling?
I appreciate it, man. I'm proud of our team. It's been a up and down, challenging year, but our guys played really hard tonight. And Dayton's a good team. They obviously have had their share of injuries and whatnot, but our guys really bounced back, responded. I thought we played really hard on defense. And, for the most part, I thought our guards really made big plays, timely plays that we haven't really been, making. We've had a lot of leads this season where we just haven't been able to score the ball. Tonight pretty much answered every run that they had, and I thought our guards did a really good job making plays, making shots.
Archie, you walk out, how all the head coaches do, 3 minutes for the game, 2 minutes for the game. You're probably more like 30 seconds before the game, and you see Dayton on the other side, the uniform that you obviously knew so well. Like, then you get down 22-11. How you feeling at that point and beforehand?
I think like one of the things, Chris, is like anytime you had a great experience at a place, you really appreciate people. And I don't know their players, and I've been gone long enough to know where I don't have any association with the players and whatnot. So it's not that awkward. I really respect Anthony and his staff and the job that they do. So, I obviously have, affection for the place. I always have, and I always will, probably a lot like you will at Xavier. It just means a lot to you.
Yeah.
Ball goes up, everything changes, as you know. You're trying like hell to win the game. And we got off to a slow start. I thought really surprised us a little bit by going zone to start the game and playing a lot of possessions in the zone. They're so big. I think, at times we really struggled seeing over them and getting the ball to the right spots. But, there's two sides of the ball. As you know, defensively, we kind of just kept staying with it. Our post trap, I thought, was effective enough to give us some opportunities. And, lo and behold, we got some confidence. Ball went in a couple of times, got some confidence. And I thought the second half we were much more comfortable, being able to attack them.
I think we're being joined here by.
Where is he?
Feels like he's in a limo.
Where is he? Is he in one of those like prom buses or whatever? There he is.
Sean, do you know who that is? Do you recognize that voice?
It's Arch.
Yeah, it's Arch, man. You guys both have big wins tonight.
I can see him. I don't know if you guys can see me, but yeah, they told me that he beat Dayton. That's amazing. That's great. Awesome.
Yep, he did. Well, I didn't really want to see you tonight because you guys picked up a win over my Huskies. But how's it feel?
This gotta hurt you, Dauster. This gotta hurt you right now.
Hey, doesn't feel great, Arch. Doesn't feel great. I gotta sit here. I gotta suck it up. I got both the Miller brothers on the show tonight. So
hey, this is the first time we've been on together since last NCAA tournament when we were going through all our picks, and I got them all right, and he got them all wrong.
I tell you what, he is right about that. But after I carried him for about 3 months, there's one thing that he needed to do a little bit better than me, and he finally got it right, no doubt. But I tell you, Rob, I really mean it. The Big East, winning on the road, and UConn, they're good. I know that they've hit a little bit of a rut, but nothing would surprise me with their team. I feel like they could make a deep run, and I mean they have all the talent to be able to win out. But so I only say that because tonight was a great win for us.
Let me ask you guys this. I know that we've talked about this before. I've talked to both of you about it individually. During the season, it's very different for you guys than it is in the off season. It is in your year off. You don't talk to each other as much. When was the last time you guys actually spoke?
I think we may have bumped, talked a day or so ago, but I'll be honest with you, our schedules, I don't think I'd talked to Sean for a couple of weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks. In the month of January, you're just on to the next one. You're kind of doing everything you possibly can to prepare your team, and, you get caught up in it, but like, the times don't really work either. You play at the same time, you play the same night. It's hard.
And let me tell you something. Arch doesn't answer when he loses. So it's not worth it. He goes missing.
Hey,
he goes missing. That's why when I always check.
So realistically, I've been missing a little bit more here recently.
Yeah.
Miller Brothers back again. We're gonna have to get you guys together for another podcast at some point.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll do it. Thanks, man.